Greetings. In her book, The Origins of Totalitarianism, Hannah Arendt writes, "The ideal subject, she means citizen, of totalitarian rule is not the convinced Nazi or the convinced communist, but people for whom the distinction between fact and fiction and between true and false no longer exist." So here we are. She wrote in 1951. It's April 30, 2020. And for decades, we've heard that truth is relative, that there is no such thing as absolute truth, especially regarding morals or spirituality. So for many people, God is a construct that changes over time. There's no one definition of marriage. Gender is fluid. You teach history that should have happened, not what did happen. Fact and fiction overlap. Truth and falsehood can't be distinguished. But no one can live sanely with a relative view of truth. This is why science has become the American state church. Listen closely to people pontificating about their particular view of almost anything. At some point they will say, "The science says," because they need to support their belief with something objective. When they say, "The science says," it makes me think we should cue angelic voices at that point. They say those words with the same religious devotion that a Christian would say, "God says." Secularists are faced with an impossible dilemma. On one hand, they insist that truth is relative, but on the other hand, they insist that some truth is not. The question is, how can anyone decide which is which? American culture answers that question in one of two ways. One, truth is crowdsourced. A thing is true if the majority of people believe it. This is why you see such a herd mentality with so many issues. People watch the news or late-night comedians, or they look at what's trending on social media, and they adopt it as their own. Perish the thought that actual truth would ever be a minority viewpoint. But I think there's equally prevalent basis for truth with crowdsourcing, and that's instinct. Listen to conversations about ideas and beliefs and truth, and most often you'll hear phrases that begin with, "I feel like X is true or right." During a recent confirmation hearing for a judge, I heard a reporter say, "I don't know if this is true or not, but I feel that it could be." Now, by feel, he didn't mean that he was emotionally moved to believe it. When people say they feel something is true or false, they're talking about their gut instinct, what seems right to them, what they're comfortable believing. This is one reason why almost all information sources in our culture are so heavily biased. Reporters, or those who post information, assume that their gut instinct is verification enough for what they disseminate. Remember, months from now, we're going to know a whole lot more about the coronavirus than we do now. And scores of self-appointed experts, as well as some genuine experts, will be proven totally wrong. Now, if you're a Christian, avoid their hubris. Admit that you could be wrong about your opinions. Don't forget Proverbs 16:25. There is a way that seems right to a man, but in the end it leads to death. Stop saying, "I feel like something is true." Our instincts are a lousy measure of the truth. If you want to speak confidently about something, how about sharing God's truth? I'm serious. The internet doesn't need one more voice, mine or yours, pontificating about our latest views on masks or testing or infection rates or the government or people on the beaches. Try talking about God's truth, especially his love for people found in the gospel. Something you know will be right and true weeks and months and years from now. Our Father, keep us from allowing anyone to hijack our mouths so that we spew out all kinds of useless and meaningless and skewed information that ignores the most important reason for which you've given us words. We need to share the gospel. We need to share your truth. And I pray that we would do so with humility but courage as well. Teach us how to school our lips, to speak the things that honor you and that hold Christ in high esteem. In his name I pray. Amen.